Okay, so full disclosure, my notifications have been like completely out of control lately. And you know what's at the heart of it? It's all this TikTok stuff. You guys have been sending in searches like crazy. And it seems like everyone is just totally confused about what's going on. I mean, some of you are asking, is TikTok back? While others want to know, when is TikTok getting unbanned? And then there are those really weird ones like, did Meta buy TikTok? It's a lot.
Yeah, it can be pretty overwhelming to keep up with, for sure. I think this whole situation really shows how fast things can change in the tech world. And honestly, it's so easy to get caught up in all the rumors and speculation.
Seriously. And speaking of rumors, it seems like a lot of your searches are kind of stuck in the past,
Yeah.
referencing those ban attempts from back in 2020 and 2023 when Trump was in office, which already makes me think that some of the information out there might be, well, a little outdated.
Definitely. So maybe we should start with the biggest question. Is TikTok actually banned right now? Well, judging by your searches, it's not so clear-cut. We're seeing a lot of you asking, is it back? Or is it working? Which wouldn't be the case if there was like a clear nationwide ban happening.
So it's not as simple as just like an on-off switch. There's more to it than that.
Oh, way more complicated. It's almost like trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces constantly change shape.
All right, well, that's definitely murky. So what are some possible reasons for all this confusion then?
Well, one thing that jumps out is all the different locations mentioned in your searches. We see Canada, the USA, and even some mentions of other countries, which kind of makes me think maybe instead of one global ban, there are a bunch of different restrictions in different places.
So maybe TikTok is working in some places but not others, which would explain why some people are having problems while others aren't.
Exactly. And then there are all those searches about the App Store. A lot of you are saying you can't download or re-download TikTok.
Right. I saw that.
And that could be a few things. It could be a glitch on Apple or Google's end. Those happen sometimes. Or it could be that they changed the policy, maybe because of all the talk about TikTok.
Interesting. So maybe it's not even TikTok's doing, but the app stores themselves.
Yeah, that's possible. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if TikTok is actually pulling the app from some regions on purpose? Like while they're dealing with legal stuff, as a way to kind of get ahead of any potential bans.
Whoa, pulling the app themselves? That's a pretty big move. But I guess it makes sense if they're trying to show they're taking things seriously. Speaking of taking things seriously, can we talk about all the VPN searches? It's honestly mind-blowing how many of you are suddenly interested in VPNs. Like everyone became internet security experts overnight.
Well, it's understandable that people are looking for ways to get around things if they can't access TikTok directly. And a VPN, a virtual private network, can make it look like you're in a different location, maybe somewhere where TikTok's working fine.
So you're tricking the system into thinking you're somewhere else. That's kind of clever.
It is, but there's a catch. And this is important. If a ban is put in place by a government, using a VPN to get around it could be against the rules, legally speaking.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a harmless trick. There could be real consequences.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect example of why it's so important to be careful and get good information when you're dealing with stuff like this online. Those quick fixes aren't always the best idea, especially when there might be legal issues involved.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, so we've got these regional differences, the App Store mysteries, and everyone going crazy for VPNs. But what about who owns TikTok? Lots of you are asking that. Who owns TikTok now? And there are even some theories that Meta bought it, which seems a little out there.
It does. And as far as we know, TikTok is still owned by ByteDance. There haven't been any announcements of a sale or anything like that. So all that talk about Meta is just rumors at this point.
So even the basic facts are kind of hard to pin down in this whole situation, huh?
Exactly. It's a mix of speculation, old information resurfacing, and real stuff happening all at once. No wonder everyone's a bit confused.
Totally. It's like trying to keep up with the news on fast forward. But before we move on, can we at least talk about why there's so much talk about banning TikTok in the first place? What's the big deal?
Well, without getting into too many specifics, the main concerns are basically around data privacy, content moderation, and national security. Those are the big whys behind all this scrutiny.
So it's not just about those viral dances and catchy songs. There's more to it than that.
Right. Different governments and organizations are worried about how TikTok handles our data, what kind of stuff people are posting, and whether the Chinese government might have access to information about users.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is such a complicated mess, and I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface.
You're absolutely right. But we'll dive deeper into those underlying tensions in the next part of our deep dive. So welcome back to our deep dive into all this TikTok craziness. We've already covered a lot of ground, But as we mentioned before, there's like a whole other layer to this thing.
Right. We talked about all that confusion around whether it's banned or not, what's going on with the App Store, and everyone suddenly using VPNs. But I think the big question is like, why? Why is TikTok facing so much scrutiny in the first place?
Well, it all comes back to those three main concerns we talked about before: data privacy, content moderation, and national security.
Okay, those big, kind of scary issues. So let's start with data privacy. What exactly are people worried about when it comes to TikTok and their information?
Basically, it boils down to who owns TikTok. Right. Remember, ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, is based in China. And that makes some governments and security experts nervous because they worry that user data collected by TikTok could end up in the hands of the Chinese government.
Okay, so you're saying, like, the Chinese government could be getting access to all those silly dance videos and cat memes. I mean, that seems a little far-fetched.
Well, it's not really about the content itself. It's more about the kind of information that can be gathered from user data. Things like where you are, what you're looking at online, who's in your contacts, even things like biometric data from those face filters. And all that data, when it's analyzed, can create a pretty detailed picture of someone and their habits.
Wow, I hadn't really thought about it like that. It's not just about the funny videos, it's about the potential for, like, misuse of all that personal information.
Exactly. And here's where it gets kind of tricky. TikTok keeps saying they don't share user data with the Chinese government. They've been pretty clear about their commitment to user privacy and data security.
So they're saying, like, we're playing by the rules, basically.
That's their stance. But there have been some reports and investigations that have raised questions about how they handle data and whether there might be vulnerabilities.
So how are we supposed to know what to believe? It's like a he said, she said kind of thing.
It is, and I think that's why it's so important to, think critically. Don't just take things at face value. Look for evidence. Try to understand different perspectives and ask yourself, like, who benefits from spreading certain stories?
That's really good advice, but it's hard to do sometimes.
I know, it's not easy. And to make it even more complicated, these data privacy concerns aren't limited to TikTok. We see it with a lot of social media platforms and tech companies in general.
Right. It seems like every other week there's a news story about a data breach or some kind of privacy scandal involving a big tech company. Okay, so when data privacy is kind of a big question mark, what about content moderation? That was another area of concern you mentioned.
Yeah, content moderation is basically about deciding what is and isn't allowed on a platform. It's about creating rules and guidelines to try and stop harmful, illegal, or inappropriate content from spreading. It's almost like being the bouncer at a giant online party, keeping things under control.
So making sure people aren't posting stuff like hate speech or graphic violence and things like that.
Exactly. And this is a challenge for any platform, but especially for one as big as TikTok. They have over 1 billion users around the world, and there's so much new content being uploaded every minute.
It must be like playing whack-a-mole trying to keep up with all that.
It kind of is. And then you have to
Yeah.
consider that different countries and cultures have different ideas about what's acceptable. What might be offensive in one place could be totally fine somewhere else.
Yeah, so what's considered, like, too spicy in one country might be pretty tame in another.
Exactly. And then there are concerns about how TikTok's algorithms might be, like promoting certain types of content, which could create echo chambers or even spread misinformation.
Whoa, wait a minute. Can we unpack that a bit? Algorithms, echo chambers. I'm not sure I'm following.
Sure, let's break it down. Imagine you like a few videos about, say, a conspiracy theory. TikTok's algorithm might notice that and start showing you more and more similar content, creating what we call an echo chamber. You're only seeing one perspective,
Right.
which reinforces what you already believe, and you might miss out on alternative viewpoints.
So you're saying the algorithm kind of creates a filter bubble where you only see what it thinks you want to see, even if it's not the whole story.
Exactly. And that can be a problem, especially when you're talking about sensitive topics like politics, health, or social issues. Algorithms are powerful, but they don't always understand the context or the intent behind something.
That's kind of creepy, actually. It's like the algorithm is shaping your reality, even if you're not aware of it.
Yeah, it's a valid concern. And it's something people are talking about not just with TikTok, but across all of social media.
Right. It's not just TikTok. It's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. They all use algorithms to decide what we see. Okay, we've covered data privacy and content moderation. Now let's talk about the big one. National security. I mean, surely everyone can agree that's important.
You would think so. But even national security, when it comes to TikTok, is wrapped up in a lot of complicated stuff and different opinions.
I'm sensing a but coming. What's the catch?
The main worry here is that a foreign government could use TikTok to try to influence what people think, or even mess with elections. It's a serious accusation, and TikTok has denied it over and over.
So they're saying they wouldn't use their platform for, like, political manipulation.
Yeah, that's what they say. But the concerns haven't gone away. Some people argue that even if TikTok itself isn't intentionally doing anything wrong, the Chinese government could pressure ByteDance to censor certain topics or promote others because of Chinese law.
So it's not just about protecting data, it's about protecting, like, democracy itself.
Kinda, yeah. It's about making sure that what we see and hear online isn't being manipulated by other countries. And this isn't just a TikTok issue. It's a bigger conversation about the role of technology and social media in global politics, or what we call geopolitics.
Whoa, for those of us who aren't political science experts, can you explain what you mean by geopolitics in this context?
It basically refers to the relationships and power dynamics between countries. And technology, especially social media, is becoming a bigger and bigger part of those relationships. Countries are fighting for influence, control, and access to data, and platforms like TikTok are right in the middle of it all.
So TikTok is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle.
Right. And it's important to remember that how countries view these national security concerns depends a lot on their specific relationship with China. Different countries have different levels of trust and different priorities when it comes to security.
That makes sense. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation then. Different countries are reacting differently based on how they see the risks.
Exactly. Some countries have banned TikTok from government devices, while others have created stricter data security rules just for the app. And then there are some countries where TikTok is pretty much free to operate without much government interference.
So it's a mixed bag around the world.
It really is. And it's also important to understand that these decisions are being made in a very politically charged environment. There's a lot of posturing, blame games, and even misinformation being spread to try and push certain agendas.
You mean there's, like, a lot more going on behind the scenes than we realize?
Definitely. And that's another reason why it's so important to be critical of the information we come across. Don't just accept everything as fact, especially when it comes to something as complex as national security. Look for evidence. Consider different viewpoints, and always ask yourself, who benefits from this story being told this way?
You know, that's good advice for life in general. All right, we've talked about data privacy, content moderation, national security. It's a lot to absorb, and honestly, it's kind of scary to think about how much power these social media companies have in our lives. So where does all this leave us? What should our listeners keep in mind as they try to figure out what's going on?
I think the most important thing to remember is this. With so much information out there and things changing so quickly, it's crucial to be a critical thinker.
Like, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
It might sound obvious, but it's true. When it comes to TikTok specifically, focus on official statements from the company, government agencies, and reputable news sources. Don't just rely on random rumors or speculation you see on social media.
So fact check, fact check, fact check. Got it. But what about those of us who just want to know if we can still post our dance videos?
I get it, but even then, it's important to be thoughtful. Think about your digital footprint. What information are you putting out there? Who can see it? And are you okay with that? These are questions we should be asking ourselves all the time, whether TikTok is banned or not.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the fun of it all and forget about the potential risks.
And be careful about those quick fixes or workarounds, like using VPNs, especially if they involve getting around government rules. They could have consequences you didn't think of.
Right, like we talked about before, using a VPN to get on TikTok if it's banned where you are could get you in trouble with the law.
Exactly. It's always better to be safe than sorry and wait for things to become clearer.
So basically, patience is a virtue, especially in the world of tech.
Definitely. And things are still developing with TikTok. What we know now might be different tomorrow. So stay informed, keep asking questions, and stay engaged in these conversations about technology, privacy, and our digital future.
I love that. It's like homework, but the good kind, where you actually feel like you're learning something. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive. All the confusion about the timeline, what's up with the App Store, the VPN craze, who owns TikTok, and all those bigger concerns about data privacy, content moderation, and national security. It's been a wild ride. But before we wrap up, we want to hear from you, our listeners. Have you been having trouble getting on TikTok? What are you seeing out there? Tell us about your experiences because the more information we all have, the better we can understand this whole thing. And remember, like our expert just said, this is a conversation that matters. So let's keep talking, let's keep learning, and let's figure out this digital world together.
Okay, so here we are back for the final part of our deep dive into, well, all things TikTok. And I got to say, it's been a journey.
It really has. We started off trying to untangle all that confusion about timelines and the App Store and VPNs, and then we got into those bigger, more serious issues around data privacy, what content is allowed on the platform, and even national security. It's a lot. It is. And honestly, what's really sticking with me is how this whole TikTok situation kind of feels like a mini version of all the challenges we face online these days.
I think you're right. It's like TikTok is forcing us to look at all our anxieties about technology, privacy, who controls what we see, and how the world is changing in terms of power.
Yeah, it makes you think about some really tough questions like who do we trust, how do we know what's true, and how much control do we actually have over our digital lives?
Exactly. And there aren't any simple answers, which is why I think these deep dives are so important. It's all about asking the right questions, even if the answers are hard to find or constantly changing.
I agree. So, as we wrap up, what are some key things our listeners should remember as they try to make sense of all this, especially with technology changing so fast?
Well, I think the most important thing is to remember just how crucial it is to be a critical thinker, especially now when we're bombarded with information all the time. Don't just take things at face value.
Especially with something like TikTok, where, let's be real, the rumors and speculation are just out of control.
Exactly. Seek out reliable sources, like official statements, government agencies, or reputable news outlets. Look for evidence, and don't fall for those clickbaity headlines or claims that sound too good to be true.
So basically, channel your inner Sherlock Holmes. Question everything.
Exactly. And remember that everything you do online leaves a trace. Think about what you're sharing, who can see it, and what that might mean down the line. Think before you post, even if it's just a silly dance video or something.
That's good advice for, well, pretty much anything you do online, not just TikTok.
You're absolutely right. And last but not least, be patient. The whole TikTok situation is still up in the air, and things could change at any moment. What we know today might be different tomorrow.
So we're kind of in a wait-and-see mode, huh?
Kind of, yeah. But that doesn't mean we should just sit back and do nothing. Stay informed, keep asking questions, and be part of the conversation about technology, privacy, and what our digital future looks like.
I love that. It's like stay curious, stay engaged, and remember that this isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process.
That's a great way to put it. It's all about making sure we're equipped to make smart decisions in a world where technology is becoming more and more a part of everything we do.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, I want to thank you, our expert, for taking the time to break all of this down for us. It's been really eye-opening. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those questions coming. That's all for this episode of The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay safe out there, both online and offline.
Today is your lucky day. Today is the day that our $3 website works for you, paying you directly to your PayPal daily. Imagine $3 ongoing continuous payments to your PayPal account. Imagine falling asleep and waking up to $300 in your PayPal account. How would this make you feel? How could this help you? What bills could you pay? What kind of fun could you have? What does that retirement look like now? All for a one-time payment of $3. This website is DFY done for you, fully built and completely hosted, and never stops collecting payments for you. You have spent $3 on coffee on a regular, but that coffee won't help you create multiple streams of income. Click the link below.